All right, we're going to go ahead and start with our post-race press conferences for tonight's Bojangles Southern 500 here at Darlington Raceway. We are now joined by our second place finisher, Brad Keselowski. Brad, tell us a little bit about the closing laps here tonight.
Yeah, long race. Long night. At least we led a lot of laps, which is something to be very appreciative of. And obviously started on the pole, and that was great. It just seemed like one of those races that just kept cycling, you know, with yellows and pit stops and yellows and pit stops. And I don't know how many yellows there were, but I don't know if I've ever drove a Sprint Cup race with this many yellows before. There's got to be somebody with a stat on that, but a lot of yellows and a lot of back and forth there, and we just came up short right at the end, which was a bummer, but a lot to be proud of, but still want to win these races, and gosh, man, we're right there, and we just haven't been able to close it out, but we'll go to work and keep working.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. If you'll please state your name and affiliation. Questions for Brad. We'll go to Kelly Crandall.
Kelly Crandall from PopularSpeed.com. Brad, we heard a lot on the radios from drivers this weekend that the consensus was almost that the old Darlington was nearly back. Did you feel that way?
Yeah. It the race kind of reminded me of. I remember when I was a kid, and my dad wanted to teach me how to drive a car, and he gave me a stick shift, and you practice and you learn how to drive it, and you stall it out all the time, and then eventually you start to kind of figure it out, and you stop stalling it out so much, and you get into a pattern, and you don't stall it out anymore. And then for whatever reason you get a car with an automatic, and you drive that for 5 or 6 years, and you get back in a car with a stick shift or a manual, and you stall it out all over again. You keep stalling it out, and you have to get back in the routine. The race reminded me a lot of that because, the cars, just 5 or 6 years ago when I entered Sprint Cup were extremely difficult to drive. And much like, a stick shift when you're first learning how to drive. And then they've gotten really easy to drive over the last 4 or 5 years, to the point where we're all kind of looking around at each other as drivers and going, wait a minute here, this isn't good. It shouldn't be this easy to drive these. And so we asked NASCAR to, hey, make these cars harder to drive. Give us our, metaphorically speaking, stick shift back. And they did, and I think somebody thought they'd be really funny and pick Darlington as the track to do that, which would be like if you pick the mountains of Virginia to give somebody a stick shift back. It's kind of that same feeling. And kind of metaphorically speaking, I think there was a lot of people that probably stalled it out today.
All right, we'll go to our far left.
Brandon Witten with Motor Racing Digest. Second race with a low downforce package this season. Could you give me your thoughts on how you think it played out?
I loved it. I mean, like I was kind of just saying there to Kelly, it separates the race car drivers from the pretends, and that's the way it should be.
Any final questions for Brad? Go up front.
Jay Busby, Yahoo Sports. Brad, given the fact that we're not going to have this package again this year, what can you take from tonight that you'll be able to use in the chase, both from a mental and from a physical level?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take from tonight for us that extends beyond the downforce, Still all the same things, restarts, pit road, dialing in some of the suspension stuff on the race car. So, mile and a half, so the bread and butter of this sport. This is a little bit smaller than a mile and a half, I think. But, as we get into the chase, you win the mile and a half, so you win the championship. It might not be with the same downforce, but it's a difference, not that big of a difference. And a lot of the same things still apply. Engine still applies. Suspension stuff still applies. Pit crew, restarts, all that stuff. Strategy. I would still take that away from it.
All right, Brad, congratulations on the second place finish, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me.